Jimmy, I've got £5,000 to £7,000. I want to buy a car that doesn't really make any practical sense, but it has to make me feel good. But it's imperative that it distracts me from balding, from hairdressing jokes, and from the odd taste of hand sanitizer in my mouth. But no, Jimmy, that's not all. The most important thing is I'm totally confused as to whether I want to be wafted luxuriously, but potentially unexcitingly, or if I want to be wafted potentially excitingly, but unluxuriously. So today's going to be a bit of a different review because typically I go for the most driver enthusiast cars, the things that really get the adrenaline pumping and whatnot. However, these are two cars that people do find themselves thinking about buying, and it's for a slightly different reason. So I'm going to be covering the things that are actually a little bit more sensible, but will make a real difference as to which one you should go for. So a prime example of somebody who this might be was actually my brother this time a year ago. He was dead set on getting an MX-5, like myself, and he's ended up with an Audi TT. And very kindly, he's lent me his car for an entire week. So I've actually lived with this for a bit. I've lived with this car for 6 months, and so I should be in a good place to tell you what the differences are. And one quick disclaimer is, in a day where I'd have more time and we're not about to get pissed on by rain, because I've already done that in depth on my channel already, you can go watch that video for more things you need to know about what that's like to own. So today's going to be slightly more of a focus driving from the seat of the TT, and obviously I'm going to compare the two. Anyway, that's dry, it's getting dull, I'm getting bored. Let's go. The first thing I noticed about this car, obviously, was a huge step up in interior quality. It is a far nicer place to be. Of course it would be, it's a more expensive car from new, and Audi have always been very ahead of the game with interior quality. And so, Tom, when he was in the market for buying himself a two-seater, he went to test drive an MX-5, same age and spec as mine, and he said, yeah, it felt good to drive, but it didn't feel particularly special. And he lives on the outer ring of London, and so there aren't fun driving roads for him. He has to pootle around in crap conditions, and he was like, I don't really want to do it in something that doesn't feel very special. In comparison, the TT was leagues ahead in interior quality. What are the things that make the difference other than nicer fit and finish? Well, this is the car that when you get in it, it does make you feel a little bit like you've done well in life. I know it sounds silly, but I think most people can relate that when they've owned a nice German brand and you sit behind the wheel with that little emblem on it, you do feel a little bit like, yeah, go me. Me, what a Jesus. What a I hope he crashes. Have that. Anyway. Anyway, so I was saying, there's something about being sat in a German car that does make you feel good. I've lived with this car for a week now, and there's the little touches that have been catching up with me slowly. They weren't really so obvious. Like when I went to adjust the mirrors, the quality of this little nice aluminium switch, the electric wind deflector which goes up and down at the back, the auto dimming mirror, it's the high quality xenon headlights, that they're completely automatic. You've got the full beam which can automatically dip itself when drivers are coming towards you. You've got the lights that stay on when you get out the car and you're walking up your driveway. And it's these little things that add up together to make you feel like you've got a very, very high quality product indeed. Big pro of the TT to the MX-5 is if you're only going to be having one car that has to do it all, well, the TT is the one that is far more usable and practical. They've cleverly managed to get the roof mechanism to fold away where the rear seats used to be. So unusually, it doesn't have a system which eats up all your boot space. Most convertibles have that. The MX-5 is also lucky in that respect. Much bigger boot, you've got a bigger interior, it's more comfortable, it's not cramped. You're not really making any compromises in that sense. I'm used to a car that feels good to drive. Like every single input of that MX-5 feels fantastic. And there will be people watching right now that probably can't really relate to that. Perhaps they've driven perfectly normal, comfortable cars that just get the job done, and there aren't enjoyable interactions to be had with driving a lot of cars. So when I got back into this TT out of my MX-5, I just found, oh, okay, the steering feels unusually dead, to be honest. And I just wasn't used to having this electric steering that gives you no information of what the front wheels are up to, how much grip they've got, etc. You just don't really feel what's going on at all. The gearbox is very light, all the pedals are very light as well. But what I've come to realise very, very quickly is, honestly, for the buyer who wants a TT, none of these things matter. They weren't buying it to be in contact with the road. And quite frankly, I actually think they'd see it as a plus, that they're disconnected and they can just completely relax, and the steering wheel doesn't vibrate and shake and wobble in your hands. It's just a completely relaxing experience, and I don't think this is the kind of car you do want to take to its very edge. I certainly don't, and I'm the kind of person that enjoys that stuff. For those of you who aren't very into your cars and you're probably watching out of sympathy, what you need to know is that the VW, Audi, Skoda, Seat, they all share a common platform that they design a lot of their cars off of. So the VW Golf platform does all sorts of things. And so this Audi TT was not designed from the ground up to be a superb driver's sports car. It wasn't. It was, what can we do with a Golf platform? And credit to them, they've done a brilliant job with it. But it does honestly feel like you're just driving a VW Golf with a missing roof, with a slightly lower driving position. That to me doesn't feel like a sense of occasion. But I can't knock it, because again, most people don't care about this stuff. What I love about the MX-5 therefore is that that was a platform that from the very ground up was an expensive thing to develop, and it was there purely to please petrol heads and to produce a really fun sports car. Shit, now. Okay. When it comes to power and speed, what the TT does have is it is considerably quicker than the MX-5 on paper. I mean, the 0 to 60 of 6.1, 6.2 for the convertible without the Quattro. It's certainly quicker than 7.6, 7.9 for the MX-5. But I find personally it doesn't feel that much quicker, despite what the paper says. And this is where it's very important that you ignore spec sheets and decide how a car drives is the most important thing. So the fact that it's got a deliberately muted engine, a very muted exhaust, you've got the turbo which is muffling the sound and hiding the engine noise, that's great for cruising, that's great for motorways, it's nice for chilling. But if you want excitement, it's in stock form, it's missing something for me. It really needs a lot more personality. For the buyer of this kind of car, that's probably exactly what they want. They just want it to chill. I've driven the exact same engine with the Remap, and it night and day difference. Really aggressive, really exciting. If the TT is the car you want because of its step up in practicality and quality over the MX-5, but you're a bit concerned it could be a bit dull, well, very little required to completely change that. The variety in spec and quality that you can get in these cars is vast. Hello, George.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Looking gorgeous in that car.
Thanks, hon. You're looking gorgeous in those. You can buy cars which feel unbelievably unspecial and crap inside, and all these things I'm talking about of this lovely S-Line spec don't really apply. Or you can snap yourself up an absolute bargain that feels way more expensive than the price you paid for it. So do look at the buyer's guides and look at the things that matter most to you. The MX-5 on the other hand, you pick a Sport Tech trim, that's it, and you've got everything. Now I hope I haven't been too critical on the TT so far, as it's really, really warmed on me a lot. The more I've driven it, the more I've enjoyed it for what it is, and I totally appreciate it's just a different car and has a very different purpose in life. And I could recommend this to a lot of people. Now, I'm afraid I have to talk about reliability, because there's a real myth around German engineering equals reliability. No, it actually means that the quality of what you're getting is beautiful, higher construction, blah, blah, blah. And back in the 90s, Mercedes did set a really strong reputation for German engineering because they were super reliable compared to everything else at the time. So people have carried that forward to today, and they think buying a German car means they're going to be free of trouble. And sadly, Audi are one of the least reliable car makes going. But it doesn't mean that you should fear it, and it doesn't mean that if you own an Audi right now you should be scared and trying to sell it. It just means that you're going to have to expect a few problems, and of course, the price of these cars new is going to reflect the costs of repairing them. Buying a cheap car for £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 doesn't mean the repairs are comparably cheap. My brother is one of those people who, he was very unfortunate, and he's had about £1,500 of stuff go wrong with this within the first year. And so it is one of the factors now that has him wondering, do I want to keep this car for 2 or 3 years? I absolutely love it, but it is a concern that he just doesn't know what's going to pop next, and if anything's going to pop. If this might be fine for 30,000 miles, it might only last 1,000 before the next big bill. I love having a car that doesn't sting me right before a holiday, that doesn't give me a £600 bill just before Christmas, which I've had all of these things happen to me with my German cars in the past. For me, Japanese car ownership does come with complete peace of mind that they're going to be far better to me. Sorry for the continuity error. I'm now on my next journey, returning the car, and so the roof is up now. Oh well. Funnily enough, I was talking about peace of mind earlier, and reliability, and being able to sleep at night. And actually, weirdly for me, one of the peace of mind things that I would get over this TT is that I think it's a far safer build of a car than the MX-5. And so, for example, from factory, these rollover hoops are way above the height of even the tallest driver. The thickness of these doors when you go to open it, the car feels like an absolute tank. Out of the box, this is a fantastic car, and I might have given it a bit of a bullying for not being an MX-5 and being ultra fun to drive, but I really do think for most people this does the important things well. Heavenly Father, thank you for joining us finally. I think the best way to summarise the difference between these two is, if you've never driven a convertible or owned a convertible before, this car will make you fall in love with having a roofless car. But I don't think it's going to make you fall in love with driving. It feels far too close to a VW Golf in the way it drives and feels for it to feel like a true sports car. But for a lot of people, they don't care. That's going to be fantastic for them. On the other hand, this is the car that, regardless of who you are now, gender, interest in driving whatsoever, it will make you fall in love with convertibles, but it'll also make you fall in love with the act of driving itself. It is so much fun to drive, but at the compromise of interior quality, space, and practicality. So there's no clear-cut winner. It's going to depend who you are and how far your interest in cars goes. So make your decision, enjoy yourself, join us in this heavenly convertible club, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Thanks so much, and see you for the next one.